Hey, welcome to today's Technical Tuesday. Karl Eggers here, this Thanksgiving version of the Technical Tuesday. So we're sitting here. The markets continue to show strength into the end of the year. It looks like it might continue that way. And we're going to cover a few charts today. These are really all economically sensitive type names, so we want to watch these. They have to do with the economy. They have to do with inflation. So let's first start off with the oil and gas Equipment Services ETF XES, and really most of the energy complex looks this way. Of course, we had this downdraft really for most of 2017 after the big jump we saw in from February 2016 all the way back up. Once we got to that level, things started to fall. So you can see we've clearly fallen, and then we broke the trend. Now we seem to be heading to what might look like a stair-step pattern here. And you can see XES fitting that nicely. I've drawn a support line there where you can see several times XES has, it's almost a sloppy head and shoulders where this is your head, this is your shoulder, second shoulder, shoulder, second shoulder. So this has 4 shoulders on it. So there you go. But it does look pretty constructive to me. Of course, we've got the 200-day moving average coming down. So once this gets back above that, continues to make higher lows, that would be very, very bullish, and see if we can start to regain some of the gains from early in late, should I say, 2016. Next one's copper. Copper has had a nice move. This is JJC is the ETN, exchange traded note on copper, and you can see once again, really since this low in May, it's up about 30% from this level, and nice solid trend line there. Kind of got ahead of itself. It's coming back. What we're seeing here in the last few days is this is the MACD is turning up. So we've got a kind of a pause from this big move, new highs, a pause. I would expect this thing to make new highs again. We continue to see more economic strength overall. One bugaboo is this flat yield curve everybody's talking about. We'll cover that in a future video. But overall, the stocks and the complex here with copper and energy and so forth continues to point to a stronger economy. Next one is railroads. So, railroad stocks. They've been in this little channel. You can see I've drawn this channel here where this was the low. We kind of gapped up, tested it. And then we ran into some trouble here in the summertime, but again, established this trend. And now we broke out above it, and it's been hanging out. So as long as it stays above this area here, around 1613 on the railroads index, then we should be okay. But this consolidation of this move, where it moves sideways, should be a continuation pattern up. Of course, one thing to keep in mind that we want to keep an eye on is the 200-day moving average, which is maybe starting to flatten out a little bit. You can kind of see it here. So we need some strength in the next few weeks to get this thing turning back up, which again is a economically sensitive area of the market. Last thing we'll finish with is small caps. And of course, small caps really after the election had a nice run. Then they kind of started moving sideways, as you can see here, kind of wider and wider channel. We broke out right here in late September as some of this talk about tax reform came back on the table. Remember, that was the big deal, was that couldn't get health care reform done, so let's focus on tax reform. That's when this broke out. Now, in the last few days, couple of weeks, you can see that it had pulled back as we started to hear that the House version might look different than the Senate version, and could they get something done, and this, that, and the other. But in the last few days, after we did get the House that passed their version, and it may look like the odds are increasing that we could get something on the president's desk signed by Christmas. You're seeing this next little burst of strength here, and of course we're going to new highs with small caps. So that, to me, this is directly related to tax reform odds. So if you want to know how to trade the Russell 2000, kind of watch the tax reform odds. Something bad happens with tax reform, this thing could come back into this channel. And that's what we need to watch is, does it bounce off of here if it pulls back and then take off, or is it going to come back in this channel? Again, small caps, one thing we look for in a strong market are small and mid caps kind of leading the way, or are they starting to wane? And by small caps making new highs, this is a positive sign for the overall market, including large caps. Hey, don't forget, Eggers Capital is our website, EGGERSS Capital.com, and we're on Instagram under Eggers Capital Management. We're on Facebook under Eggers Capital Management. We do a weekly podcast on iTunes, soon to be on Spotify. So lots of ways to get our information, and we appreciate you subscribing to our YouTube channel right there in the bottom right of the screen. All right, guys, happy Thanksgiving. Take care.